even started out, I wanted. What do you think? It was in Foumban. Was it the only town in Cameroon in the 1960s?
That's the question.
Yes.
On the choice for the town.
What's the reason for the choice of Foumban? Who decided to use Foumban? Why Foumban? Why is that they could not use Yaoundé? Why not Bamenda? Why not Chang? Why not
the second one went to Yaoundé?
Yes. So I think was President Amada Ijo of the Republic of Cameroon, the Minister of Interior Aruna Njoya, and the then Sultan of Foumban, Said Njoda. The key man who decided that Foumban should be used was President Amada Ijo of the Republic of Cameroon. He said that the town of Foumban is very dear to his heart. Apart from that, Ijo have also chosen Foumban because the Bamon on Foumban had similar culture with some tribe in still starting Cameroon.
Okay.
Yes. History holds that the person who history holds that population migration in Cameroon, the Bamon man and the Nsor man had one father. Because succession fighting over one to take over after the father died, the man who led the Bamon was a man called Chari, who migrated and settled in Bamon, in Foumban, present day in Foumban. While the man who led the Nsor was a man called Ngonso, who migrated and settled in present day Kumbo. So because of his cultural tie between the Bamon of East Cameroon, of the Republic of Cameroon, and the Nsor, I just decided to use Foumban. I also wanted to appease the Bamons because the Bamon had an elite, and the elite was one of the UPC activists. And in the course of fighting the UPC activists, this elite was killed in November 1960 in Switzerland. Roland Felix Momi, he was a Bamon son. After killing, Aïdjo felt that there would be a sign of strange relation between him and the Bamon. So by choosing the town of Foumban was to appease Bamon. What about security reason? In the 1960s, from 1955 to 1970, most cities in East Cameroon or the Republic of Cameroon were not at peace because of UPC activities. But the town of Foumban seemed to be very serene. Take note, Aïdjo had that fear that maybe in the course of the conference there might be insecurity or whatever. Foumban is very close to Kutaba. From Foumban to Kutaba is just 200 francs. And in 1960, Kutaba was the top security post in Cameroon as far as military is concerned. So that in case of anything, they can bring in military to ensure security. So those are the key issue why the town of Foumban was chosen for that conference. Also that Aïdjo was a closer man was a Muslim closer to Seido Joya, the then Foumban. They were closer friends. So they said to Joya of Foumban, Ashu, Aïdjo that in Foumban there was no problem. We can use that particular conference, that particular city for the conference. I see repeat that one viewer do are listening to us. History of Cameroon is too diverse, but we're all doing research. It's too diverse. But I wish that viewers to listen to us. And but I still want you to be clear that they discuss on something. A fake constitution, they discuss on a fake constitution. For the 5 days that they were in Foumban, they discuss on a fake constitution. Okay, let me come. Mr. Ndifor, you make a statement that they were in Foumban that Monday. Most of them were surprised that about the issue of the draft constitution that Aïdjo brought to Foumban. It is very true that most British and Cameroon were surprised. But there was somebody who was not surprised. John Go Frontier had the draft Foumban constitution before the Bamenda conference of the 26th of June 1961. John Go Frontier had before the Foumban conference. John Go Frontier and Aïdjo have been having many meetings, and one of the meetings between 24th and 26th of May 1960 in Yaoundé, Aïdjo handed to Frontier the Bamenda draft, the Foumban draft constitution before the Bamenda conference. Even in Boya again, on between 14 and 19 of June 1961, 1960, Aïdjo still had it to Frontier the Foumban draft constitution. But unfortunately, that's why we are going to come. You ask for what happened that British and Cameroon in Foumban. I think we should go to that. What did they want in Foumban? Let me land back. You have talked about education. They went to Foumban to discuss education. They went to Foumban to discuss do you know why they went to Foumban? Because two people are coming together of different culture. Educational wise, British and Cameroon, different education system for the Republic of Cameroon. Capital city, British and Cameroon were going to Foumban that if they are going for a union, where will be the capital? They had in mind that the capital should be Douala. They are preferred Douala because Douala is closer to British and Cameroon, and the people of Douala were very friendly. They were also going because of system of government. The people practice two different systems of government. And I remember I keep telling people that there's a problem in Africa. French-speaking African country practice a system of government totally different from English-speaking system of government. Like what in most French-speaking countries in Africa in the way they don't know federation. Federation is not a Frenchman political culture. Frenchman political culture is unitary and centralization. Why most federated countries in the world are not French-speaking but English? You're having Federal Republic of Nigeria speaking English, Australia, America, and other. So they were they were going to Foumban to just discuss the form of the government because before the British and Cameroon used to a system of government called parliamentary system of government. What parliamentary system of government? Powers in the hand of the prime minister, the parliament. Parliament had powers to decide everything. That's what we're seeing in Nigeria. So we had a lot of things that we're going to discuss in Foumban. Coming back, but I'm still repeating that they discussed on something. I know that why you are probably that they did not sign anything, but they discussed on issue in Foumban for the 1 week. We cannot say that the one who no, they discuss on something. And what would they discuss on the draft constitution of the Republic of Cameroon. We cannot deny that they discuss on that. And what happened on the draft constitution? Business and Cameroon, even the issue of federation that they adopted on Foumban. I just accepted federation that adopted on Foumban. Because after Foumban, we are going to talk about Cameroon. The name changed from what? The Federal Republic of Cameroon from 1961 to 1972. British Southern Cameroon was changed to the state of West Cameroon. When the Republic of Cameroon was changed to the state of East Cameroon, they merged together from the Federal Republic of Cameroon from 1961 to 1972 on a fair constitution. I know that your bad problem is that, but we are looking. I'm not a politician.
I don't know why you can't.
Let me land. But let me land.
Barrister, the short of senior barrister.
Let me land, though.
Call it senior barrister.
There's senior bar. Let me land. But he should say that the Cameroon from 1961 to 1972 was called the Federal Republic of Cameroon.
How do you reach there? How do you reach there? What act of government did Southern Cameroon sign to make it become West Cameroon? Yeah, he's still not telling people because we want to know what happened.
What act did the other side sign?
Please wait. I want to because they're always telling me history. Now you still call that territory British Southern Cameroon. Let me remind you. After the second Lancaster House talks of London, the British decided to create Southern Cameroon as the third independent region in Nigeria and gave it the name Southern Cameroon. It was no longer British Southern Cameroon.
You are right. Yes. Go ahead. Yes.
Then they gave them a constitution. Orders in council, constitution, Southern Cameroon constitution, 1960. So when you start talking that talk you're talking, I don't understand. Under that constitution, Southern Cameroon had a bicameral parliament.
What took them to
Thank you. Let me land, sir. Under their constitution, they had a bicameral parliament. That is a parliament which was the parliament, and then the House of Chiefs, which was the upper house. Now, when they went to Foumban, they were going there to discuss the terms of the Union Treaty. They were not going there to sign any constitution.
No, I'm not signing any constitution.
Thank you.
I'm not signing.
You keep saying that something was discussed. Yes, are we bound by discussions? Are we bound today by discussions? People say that our hands were tied at Foumban. Is it discussion that tied our hands? They should discuss. Now, if you want to tell me that history was correct, after those discussions, nothing was signed in Foumban. They went to Yaoundé, nothing was signed in Yaoundé. Yeah. How do we find ourselves not having carried anything? Because Ndifor said, after those discussions, everything was to be carried to the parliament. Mr. Ndifor, tell us, did our parliament in Boya receive any document from either Foumban conference or Yaoundé conference that they enacted into law and made us become West Cameroon? Was that the case? No, sir. I keep asking, you should tell us. How did it happen that after the two conferences, we find ourselves with a constitution that is titled Constitution of Federal Constitution of 1st September 1961, enacted by the Parliament of the Republic of Cameroon. Excuse me, sir. Yes. Excuse me, sir.
Okay, so
did they discuss that after the two conferences, Southern Cameroon Parliament will become obsolete? Was that what was discussed? Well, did they discuss that after the during the Yaoundé conference, all the powers of the House of Chiefs and House of the Parliament should be transferred to the Parliament of Yaoundé? What are you talking about?
Senior Barrister.
Yes, sir.
Maybe there is going to be another edition where we will look at how the Foumban conference was made nonsense.
It was nonsense.
No. I'm saying that there may be another edition, but today we are remembering the Foumban conference.
Excellent.
Why was it held? What are the decisions arrived at? Those other things are not what.
As I was saying, nothing was arrived at in the name of a decision. If there was any, sir, put it on the table.
Okay, there were no decisions. Let me know. But that's why I'm still repeating that your problem is signing. They did not sign anything, but they discussed on something. That's why I'm discussing what they discussed.
At the end of
the Foumban conference, Senior Barrister, at the end of the Foumban conference, a Federal Republic of Cameroon was adopted.
By who?
Southern Cameroon.
By who?
At the end of the Foumban, let me land.
Who adopted it?
But let me land. At the end of the Foumban, that's why I'm saying that. Well, let me land now. I mentioned I'm not a politician. I'm talking about research. I do.
No, you should.
At the end, at the end of the Foumban conference, the Federal Republic of Cameroon was the Federal Republic was adopted. President Amada Ejo became the president of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, while John Foncha was appointed the vice president of the Federal Republic of Cameroon from West Cameroon.
Can you show us the document that?
You have why I'm saying that the problem is that Senior Bar, your problem is the science. They did not sign anything.
Mr. Ndifor, you have something to say?
Let me land before Mr. Ndifor take over. But at the end of the Federal Republic of Cameroon was adopted from 1961 to 1972. Cameroon was called the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Who was the president? Amada Ayejo. Who was the vice? Django Foncha. The Southern Cameroon. Let me land. Southern Cameroon was changed after Foumban Conference. Southern Cameroon was changed from Southern Cameroon to the state of West Cameroon. What the Republic of Cameroon was changed.
It is the 1961 1st September Constitution that brought all those into play. Not Foumban Conference. Mr. Ndifor, teach your children history, sir.
I say after
Constitution.
That one said after the conference.
French Cameroon that brought that thing. That one. And I'm asking you, on what impetus did the French Cameroon Assembly have to legislate on Southern Cameroon? That's what I'm asking you. Tell us how it happened before we find ourselves there.
Senior Barrister.
Yes, sir.
We are talking about what happened in Foumban.
Yes,
let him just speak about it now. Those things you are saying came after now.
Let him tell us what happened in Foumban. A different edition will come to that. Please just tell us what happened in Foumban.
If it's that, I mean that on this platform we will not discuss any resolution now. I mean that there will no resolution because the resolution of the
resolution, I know, yes.
Of just the fair constitution you are talking about, the result of the fair constitution it was not signed.
Just go on.
Let me now say it be clear back.
Yeah.
So what I was saying that it makes like that. I was trying to talk, Mr. Let me land. Let me land. Yeah, you know, Bar is concerned. But you asked a question to Mr. Ndifor that.
Okay, come in, Mr. Ndifor, but Monsieur Jean-Pierre is also waiting. Let's come in. Let's get to him. Yeah.
Look, before your question, I want us to be very clear on this because I read a lot of comments under the post on Facebook, and let us be clear. You gave us a topic we were to discuss on.
Yes.
And I came to this program knowing that I'm coming to talk about the
Foumban conference. Yes.
Conference and resolutions in at Foumban conference. All this talk about a constitution signed, not signed, a constitution. Those are things that are brought in by Barrister Ashu. Maybe Barrister Ashu is coming in the position of a politician and he has his supporters out there who are very happy to hear him say the kind of things that he's saying. I am not here to please people. I'm not here to talk to people to make you happy, to make you want to hear the kind of things you want to hear. I am telling you what is there. And if you like, you can go and verify. It is verifiable. Everybody can see those documents. They are there. They are clear. If you want to verify, I can direct you. Go to the National Archives in Boya. Ask to get the record of the Foumban conference. Read it yourself and get the details. So when people start saying that teachers are teaching lies to students, that I take great exceptions to that. And I will not like Barrister Ashu to keep on misleading the public by us from the topic of discussion. We are not here to talk about a constitutional constitution. We are here to talk about what happened in Foumban. And as a matter of fact, I came with a whole lot of things to discuss about the discussion that happened in Foumban, the resolutions that was taken in Foumban. But at the end of the day, we have been derailed and we are talking totally nonsense. And in fact, I don't even know where we are heading to.
No. We are not derailing. I'm sure we are staying. That's why I keep reminding that what we are discussing here today has to do with strictly what happened in Foumban. Whatever might have transpired or came after that is a discussion for another day. Now, Monsieur Jean-Pierre Samedjou, est-ce que vous avez aussi l'impression que l'initiative de se réunir à Foumban était aussi la bonne? Il fallait commencer quelque part.
Bien sûr, il fallait commencer quelque part. Et je profite déjà pour dire à monsieur, au barista, dear barista, you are right on certain points. I'm agree with you on certain points. But it's really important to know that everything, what happened in Foumban was really important according to us today, because we are 60 years. It's really important to look behind and say what went wrong and how can we change it? How can we find lesson in what happened in Foumban? The first step is it's not good to say there were nothing there, because you can say no, but the facts are there. There were change in Cameroon. When Cameroon changed the political form and was federalized. Django Foncha was not Prime Minister, was Vice President. So there were something there, and the change about some topic. It's really important to accept that. But as politician, I'm agree with you that that was the start from what we have right now in Cameroon. We are seeing that the central government, the so-called La République, is not able to argue, to discuss really as brother with the English speaker in Cameroon. So that is the problem. I agree with you in that point. But what I want to say is, history can be bad. History can be worse, but we have to accept the history as it is. That is the most important. I'm agreeing with what you say. I know I can say, but that is a political mind. It's an ideological mind. It's not the fact. The fact is our ancestor. Because I'm coming from the west part of Cameroon. It is really important to know, as the teacher, the historical teacher say right now. It's really important to know which important the west part of Cameroon had in this time, because Foumban was not they didn't choose Foumban as nonsense place. No, they just knew why they wanted to do that in Foumban. Foumban was a tampon zone, as we say it in French, so a peace zone, and Foumban is between North English speaker and French speaker in the west part. It's really important to know that they wanted some place where they can change and in discussing with the French part of Cameroon without problem. And it's important also to know that the United Nations in that time give the possibility to the English speaker as Southern Cameroon, we can say it like that, and the French part to be independent. So there were no difference between the both nations. Normally, the Southern Cameroon has signs of something. That is the point. You are right, but they didn't do that. We have to look ahead and say, how can we change the fact right now and look ahead? That is the point. So we can say that they did nothing, they never signed nothing, but it's not helpful right now. That is my point of view.
Okay.
That is my point of view.
Okay, let me take a few messages. Hello, Mr. Liu. Even the American government whose economic had enjoyed from slavery, organized plantations, still advise Americans not to ask what the government had done to them, but to ask what they had done to their country. Your panelists should stop criticizing the Cameroon government for everything. I am John, writing from Germany. Good evening to you, John. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Carlson watching from Yaoundé. The takeaway from Foumban conference was the spirit of living together. 60 years after, some people believe we cannot live together. It is an insult to history. Okay, let me take this one from from Dr. Tata, yeah. I'm looking for his message. Okay, I see it. And Ndifor, I will still stay. No, let me come to you before going back to Ndifor. Richard? Yes? No, let me.
I was just reacting. I've not had the opportunity to explain my the point I had, because Barrister and Gentle, they took quite a lot of time.
Go on then.
Okay, yeah. So we are saying that before Southern Cameroonians came to Foumban, they had a number of issues. They had a number of proposals that they wanted to be incorporated in the discussions and the negotiations, which will eventually be included in the Foumban Constitution, or in the Federal Constitution. And one of those issues that were discussed was the form of the state. They talked about, they wanted a loose federation. But in Foumban, what they came out with was a centralized federation. They also wanted the President of the Republic to be a ceremonial head of state, very much like the Queen of England is, and not to have so much power. But what was agreed upon in Foumban was that Ahidjo was granted too much power. He had so much power in his hands, and that is the same kind of power that we have with current President Paul Biya, because a lot of power was put in the hands of one man, which was the president. And then also they talked about wanted Southern Cameroon, they wanted the position of president to alternate. That is, if the president of the Republic, of the Federal Republic, is from French Cameroon, the next president will come from West Cameroon. That was another thing that they discussed, and in Foumban, it was rejected by the Ahijo delegation. So a couple of all of these things that came up point to the fact that there was not the willingness of togetherness, of coming together as brothers to form a state. Because thinking about the Foumban conference, one would think that both parties came together with a feeling of brotherliness, wanting to come together. That is what was lacking in Foumban, and that is what most government officials preach today, the same kind of togetherness that they rejected vehemently in Foumban. Because immediately after Foumban, the few things, like I indicated earlier, that in Foumban there were certain things that were agreed upon in Foumban that if implemented to the latter, we would not be much. For example, the Southern Cameroonians were given the right of minority. Southern Cameroonians was protected. They agreed that for any constitution, any bill to be tabled in Parliament, and for that bill to go through, it will mean that there should be majority vote on both sides. In the case of the Federal Assembly, which had 50 members, 10 was to come from Southern Cameroon and 40 from French Cameroon. And among those Southern Cameroonians, the 10 Southern Cameroonians, 6 were expected to vote in favor of a bill for it to go through, which means that even if all the 40 members of French Cameroon voted in favor of that bill, and just 6 members of the West Cameroon voted against it, it will not go through. Unfortunately, all of these things, because I am looking at this, looking up to when this issue of the federation was abolished, when they came up with the referendum and all of that, if all of these things that were agreed upon in Foumban were respected to the latter, we will not be having the kind of problems. Yes, it is true that Southern Cameroonians will still complain, but it will not be the way it is today. And let me just quickly say this, Leonard, to say that, like my brother from Germany, what he said, that things happen in history, there is no way you can deny it. We might differ in our analysis of those issues, but the fact that they happen, there is no way you can deny that it didn't happen. Those things happen, and the first way we could start looking at the problems we have today in Cameroon is by admitting certain basic facts in history. There are some basic facts in history that people just vehemently try to twist, try to deny it, even as the evidence is looking at them straight into their faces. Okay. They try to deny it. That is not how we are going to have what we want. That is not how Southern Cameroonians or Anglophones, English-speaking Cameroonians, are going to have their protection against marginalization. It will come from us admitting that this is the way things happen. This is the way the actual facts of the way things happen, and then we go look at those things and see where we went wrong, and we try to correct from it. Denying that they didn't happen, pretending that there were certain things that happened that did not happen, to just to animate people and make people emotional and start talking with a lot of emotion, is not going to help us move any further, because the documents are clear. And like I said earlier, I would like to say this to your viewers, especially those on Facebook: go to the National Archives in Busie. The facts are there. As for the file of the Foumban conference in Busie, read all of those things that are there. If there is anything that contradicts some of the things that I say here, fine, you can come and talk about it here. And I also encourage Barrister Ashu to go to those files and look at those evidences, look at the details of those things that happened. Those documents are all available for anybody. They are accessible for anybody to get.
Good evening all on the panel. Prior to the meeting in Foumban, the then Southern Cameroon desperately needed the union than the Republic of Cameroon. That is why Ahijo said to the delegates that our brothers of the Southern Cameroon want to join us of the Republic of Cameroon. It is incumbent on us to accept them. Did that statement mean anything to the Southern Cameroon delegation? Thereafter, there was a lot of abrogation of agreed conditions of brotherhood at the detriment of the people of Southern Cameroon, who desperately needed the marriage. There was no eyebrow raised. Who carries the blame today? Okay, Professor Tita Samuel Fon, writing from Yaoundé, he says, not signing anything and going silent is consent. They consented to what they signed. Okay, I don't know what they signed. Okay, Mr. Leo, good evening. Barrister Ashu should use judicial techniques to cross-examine or to intimidate the young historian, and Southern Cameroon was not given a constitution or independence but was made a quasi-autonomous state. Mr. Leo, it's Malange Roger writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Mr. Malange. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and your capable panelists. As regards the issues of Foumban conference, the Southern Cameroon delegation failed woefully during the end of the conference because most of their proposals were rejected by Hijo. Rene is writing from Bonaberry. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. Mr. Liu, senior barrister, is very correct and speaking the gospel truth about the mistake politicians in the 1960s did, and so let historians not come here and tell us what they have taught us in school and now feeling guilty. Oops. I think we should, the least we can give to our teachers is to give them respect. We should give them respect. We are who we are because of our teachers. Foumban conference is not the problem. The problem is the leadership in Cameroon. Hi, Mr. Leo. Okay, Mr. John says your panelists should stop criticizing the Cameroon government. Okay.
Why?
Good evening, Mr. Leo. My question is to the historian, especially Mr. Ndifor. Does it mean that what teaching in class, especially in advanced level classes, you tell your children not to substantiate their answers? The truth is that talking with a girl doesn't mean the girl has accepted your proposal. Yes, but even if we were to look after that, some of the resolutions, let me look at some of the same. Reunified Cameroon would be known as the Federal Republic of Cameroon. That decision was taken at the Foumban.
Was it?
No,
was it?
Well, let me even talk.
I know.
I'm the moderator. I should not even ask questions.
That's the question that you should ask now. After you have read that one.
I want to read.
Was it applied?
Well,
Senior barrister,
calm down. Should I not even ask?
Senior barrister, calm down.
I said, let me look at some of.
Please allow the moderator to moderate.
You are asking the question now. Okay.
I know you have
decisions arrived that says a reunified Cameroon would be known as the Federal Republic of Cameroon. There was to be two autonomous federated states, each headed by a prime minister. East Cameroon and West Cameroon were to have House of Assembly, and then West Cameroon, in addition to that, the House, and then the flag was to be green, red, yellow with two gold stars, and then Yaoundé was to be the national capital and at the same time capital of East Cameroon. Meanwhile, Boya was to be capital of West Cameroon. These are some of the decisions arrived at. Yes.
Mr. Leo,
yes.
I take strict objection to that. Those were not decisions.
Okay.
Those were proposals. Look, you see,
the proposals were made there.
Wonderful. Those were proposals. You see, I want to agree with someone of these viewers who said what came out of Foumban was the spirit of living together. I want to agree with that viewer. But you see, Foumban is important today because it depicts the betrayal of one brother to the detriment of the other. The proposals. I like Mr. Ndifor because he said the Southern Cameroon proposals were rejected. When you go to the negotiations, does your counterpart reject your proposals? You agree. So what simply happened was that, you see, some other person said the Southern Cameroonians did not understand French, and most of those things were written in French. That was even the reason why they never signed anything. And that was the reason why they had to go for a second conference in Yaoundé, because the Foumban didn't produce anything substantial.
So Foumban was a preparatory ground?
It was a preparatory ground. It was a they were going there to prepare the signing of the Union Treaty, not the Constitution. You see, so the Republic of Cameroon knew that Southern Cameroon would not accept all those things. That is why when they reached Yaoundé, as they were discussing in the hall, Republic of Cameroon sent that is draft to its own assembly. I want to ask Mr. Ndifor, you say you are a history teacher. Tell us what happened. That a country that had its own parliament was kept aside completely. Is another country legiferating for it and giving you the name? No, sir. It's not because we had discussed that you tell me that you had a right to go and legislate for me. See, another person said the fact that a man talks to a woman doesn't mean that the woman has accepted her, accepted him. So please, Foumban was a preparatory ground. That was it. Those things you read, they were not decisions. They were proposals. They were proposals, and if the fact that their proposals is materialized by the non-signature of those proposals by the both parties. So they should stop telling us that we agree. How do you agree when you don't append? How do you agree when you don't append? We know how these people organize their meetings.
Yeah, but now, okay, you say there were proposals.
Yes, and that is the reason why.
We know what the proposals were. They came together and proposed, because you see, after the Foumban conference, there was in the Yaoundé conference.
Thank you. You see, I told you earlier that the British had a draft, a blueprint, which they gave to Foncha. Another person said when they left Bamenda, they had their blueprint, which Foncha didn't give. He was not a fool. He didn't give, because what he saw the things were going to a different direction. So he said, no, I will not give this thing so that they will go and make something and say, I have agreed.
But he was vice president, after all.
That is Mr. Ahijo's appointment. Who gave Ahijo power to appoint? No, sir. When did he accept?
Was he not vice president?
Oh, no, sir. Look, Mr. Foncha found himself, after the 1st of October, he found himself in the presence of the British High Commissioner, who said, okay, you will now work with Ahijo. Took his hand and gave Ahijo. And Ahijo, that very day, his constitution went into force. And it was by the strength of that his constitution that he was making those appointments. Not because of Foumban. No. By the strength of the constitution of 1st September 1960.
Yeah, but it started with Foumban now.
That is what we are saying.
To do anything. I say it is a constitution that was enacted by the Republic of Cameroon Parliament, that Ahijo had the right to even change the name that was agreed upon. Federal United Republic. We changed it to Federal Republic.
Where was it agreed upon?
That is the British. Look, I told you that.
Okay.
From the classified documents, from half they prove that name came from England as Federal United Republic, and you have seen it there in the Foumban conference.
Yeah, but now these are two entities that were good.
Yep.
Yeah, and you say the British advised that this should be the name.
Which means
that the other side also had a name.
Yes, and who gave them the power to keep that name aside?
Negotiation, yeah.
Let me talk on the. I still repeat. I keep repeating that I'm not a politician. I'm a historian.
Yes.
Even my historical facts are wrong. I will still give it to the district to the property to correct me on the wrong friends. And then Foumban Constitution, Federal Constitution. I agree with Senior Barrister that they were proposers. What were the proposers? British Sergeant Cameroon came to Foumban and they said, well, let's discuss, as Mr. Ndifor mentioned, on the form of the state. What are they discussing on the form of the state? Sergeant Cameroon said, one, a loose federation. Why, at the end of the day, the Republic of Cameroon, no, let it be a centralized federation. At the end of the day, a centralized federation was adopted in Foumban. That is under the form of the state, a centralized federation called the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Second point, they say let's discuss on the we are
Federal United.
Yes, well, I'm still talking as Senior Barrister.
No, I was just correct.
Okay, they come again. Let's discuss on the president, as Mr. Ndifor mentioned. British Cameroon parliamentary element mentioned. Power is vested in the hands of the state presidents. Power is vested in the hands of the state parliament. At the Foumban, British can want a parliamentary system of government. But at the end of the day, even though a parliamentary system of government was adopted, a presidential system of government was adopted. As we are discussing here, at the end of the day, there was a federal constitution. And I will talk on the I'm seeing why the Republic of Cameroon had their own capital called Yaoundé. Now we're going to union. What will be the federal capital? It was agreed that Yaoundé will be the Yaoundé was chosen as the capital of the union. And we're going to the union. The issue of human rights. The Sergeant Cameroon, who have been under the British and part of Nigeria, had a lot of respect for human rights. and they don't play with human rights. Now we're going to, what are we going to discuss about issue? They said that no, at this constitution we are going to ensure respect for human rights. What about nationalities? I was going to union, we are starting Cameroon people at the, what about nationality? What kind of nationality? At the end of the day, was adopted a single nationality all over the Republic of Federal Republic of Cameroon. What about legal system? They have been used to what they call the Indian legal system and the customary court, why the Republic of Cameroon practices the French legal system. What are we going to do here? So these are the proposals that they discussed at the Foumban conference. Now, at the end of the day, at the Foumban conference, who emerged loser? At the end of the day, at the Foumban conference, they were loser, and who were loser at the Foumban conference based on what they discussed. They came to Foumban and said that we want a loose federation. Southern Cameroon said we want a loose federation, but one adopted a centralized federation, which goes against their aspiration. I will call that one that failure. They wanted that the capital of the union should be Douala, but at the end of the day, what was chosen was the Yaoundé, which goes against their aspiration, and that is a failure. They wanted dual nationality. What do you mean by two nationality? As we are in the want to come to union, there should be two nationality. Nationality as a Southern Cameroonian different from nationality of the Federal Republic is two. But anything a dual nationality was taken as there dual nationality was imposed. Now, when highlights of this discuss, the key issue that British and Cameroon cried, the key failure that they imaged losers in Foumban will call a loose federation, which they will never achieve, a centralized or adopted and imposed against their wishes. Now, I'm not been talking. Now, what happened that they failed on Foumban? What happened that what their aspiration that they left from Bamenda? We agree that they had a conference in Bamenda 26 to 28 before leaving from Foumban. So their aspirations of the draft that they brought from Foumban was not accepted, or
from Bamenda,
sorry, was not taken into consideration at the Foumban. What are the key issues? Mr. Ndifor mentioned that most history books have laid some blames on Foncha for the fellow of British side in Cameroon and Foumban. First of all, they blame that why the 14-man delegation, I mean the 12-man delegation for the Republic of Cameroon came to Foumban under Ajo with well-prepared legal experts. But the British legal expert that was allocated to Foncha called Cecily Phillipson. Foncha failed to manage the legal expert. Even the British, apart from this British legal expert called Cecily Phillipson, British and Cameroon also had legal expert. Your main mention of the ETA was a legal expert, and many of them. Foncha neglected them. Foncha did not make use of the legal expert in British side in Cameroon. He thought there was another man called Ngon Jinzinka, many of them. Bamela Ingo, and many Foncha did not make. That was a first blunder that we are blaming Foncha. Within British side in Cameroon, one of the reasons why we also accomplished their failure in Foumban is because of self-centeredness and greed. Before the Foumban conference, Ajo and Foncha am the meeting, and Foncha already make Ajo already make Foncha to know that at the end of the Foumban conference, whatever come out of the Foumban conference, you are going to be the vice president. Because of this greed, at the end, during the Foumban conference, whatever they were discussing, whether in the interest of British and Graham or not, Foncha was just saying yes. And then we also blame why they also failed. Foumban we also say that Foncha was the leader of Southern Cameroon. He led a divided delegation. I mentioned that divided delegation. The 24-man delegation were not together. There was division between Foncha KNDP and main opposition party CPNC of Ndeli. Within the KNDP, there was radicals led by Agustin Gomjoa and the mod led by Foncha. Even the traditional ruler were not happy with Foncha. He was compromised to Ajo. What another reason? So are the key reasons why they failed. But apart from that, there are other surrounding issues that caused them to fail in Foumban. The Foumban conference was more of feasting and celebration. Everybody knows that the 24-man delegation that went to Foumban had well-decorated rooms with champagne and drinks, and each of them had two beautiful girls called hostesses to take care of them.
But they were supposed to feel free now.
That's what I'm saying. That it brainwashed them. Too much celebration brainwashed them from their main goal. Time factors another one. They spent only 5 days. And then the element mentioned that you people should take time with it, something that had to do with the lives of future Cameroonians. But they spent only 5 days. Time factors. We also blame them that British and Cameroon went to Foumban, what they call curiosity to achieve independence. Before going to Foumban, UN and May declared that 1st October 1961 is their independent day, irrespective of what they are called the Foumban conference. So during the Foumban conference, any deliberation in Foumban conference, whether it's their favor or not, they were only looking for 1st October to achieve their independence. So they were curious about independence and know what is going on in Foumban. I'm not a politician. I'm talking history here. And again, another reason why we also blame them is we also blame them too. Another factor is UN. Remember, before the Foumban conference, they have given the issue of, before reunification, there were two options. Those who opted for reunification under Foncha and those who opted for integration or association under Ndeli. But there was a third option. The third option was the advocate of the third option was a man called PM Kale. he created a political party called Cameroon United Party in September 1959. His option was that UN. If you are talking about two options, reunification with the Republic of Cameroon and integration with Nigeria, what about the third option? And what was the third option of PM Kale? PM Kale wanted an independent British Southern Cameroon to be given independence. And he was supported by some pressure groups or traditional, like Cameroon Institutional Party of Mangawile of Victoria, Cameroon Commoners Congress of Chief Nyenti of Mafi. But unfortunately, PM Kale was rejected by the UN. So another weakness of why they failed Foumban is because UN had earlier rejected the third option. And during the Foumban conference, I was saying there were no UN officials, to guide the during Foumban conference. So I know that we are talking on the basis of a fail, but at the end of the Foumban conference, when they tripartite means three. Delegation of British and Cameroon 1, delegation of the Republic of Cameroon 2, and the British 3 tripartite. But from the 2nd of August to the 7th of August. Although Ba is talking about history that I'm doing research tells me that in the Yaoundé Tripartite Conference they wanted to come to harmonize or agree on what.
So after the Foumban conference, they met in Yaoundé in the presence of the British.
The officials,
okay,
British representative, and let me land by saying.
No, you've spoken now.
Yes, I was not talking. You people have been talking, and I was not talking. Whether we like it or not, from Foumban to Yaoundé, a federal constitution was drafted, made of 60 articles. From whether it's favor us or not, at the end of the Foumban conference, a government was established headed by President Amadou Ahidjo as the president, and the vice president was John Foncha. Whether we like it or not, after the Foumban conference, Southern Cameroon was changed to the state of West Cameroon. The Republic of Cameroon changed to the state of East Cameroon. All of them having two prime ministers. The prime minister of West Cameroon was a man called John Foncha, while the prime minister of East Cameroon was a man called Charles Asale. That is history and not politics.
Okay, that is history. Monsieur, this is quite good. I am sure that students are taking a note. Jean-Pierre Samejou, est-ce que il n'est pas temps que les Camerounais apprennent leur histoire, que on fasse there should be a policy that actually encourages Cameroonians to know where they are coming from?
Of course, it's really important, because as we are seeing right now on the panel, we have right now troubles because we have two teachers on the panel, and the most people are saying that is fake what they are saying. But the most important is to have the first information. You are not able to say someone is telling not the truth, is lying without comparative element. You need comparative element to say if that is false. I have the right information. So that is the problem. We need to encourage people to go ahead to learn where they are coming from. And I will say something. According to the Foumban conferences, that is the basis of what we have right now in Cameroon. And just because people not know what happened in Foumban, they don't even want to know what happened in Foumban. They are not able to analyze what happened right now in Cameroon according to the separatism, to the Amba crisis, to the Anglophone crisis, because it's a leadership problem in Cameroon. That is most important. That is the reason why I really agree with my dear, the historical teacher in Cameroon, who always said, I'm not a politician, I'm a teacher. It's really important to know that. So he's doing his job. His job is to teach people to say what happened in the past. Because if you know your past, you will manage your present, and you will know how to manage to have a good future. According to Cameroon right now, to young people, it's really important not to go. It's always important to go at university in schools, but it's also important to look on internet, on Google, everywhere, what happened in Cameroon in 1954, 1960, 61, 1972 is really important, because that is the basis of our Cameroon. Let me say something in French, please, because we also have many people here which want me to talk in French. So give me just 2 seconds. Il est important que la plupart des Camerounais qui sont dans la partie francophone comprennent ce message, parce que ce qui se passe au Cameroun aujourd'hui concernant les crises anglophones, on nous parle de la crise de séparatisme au Cameroun, on présente les anglophones comme étant des terroristes, des rebelles, et pourtant c'est pas la vérité. Si vous suivez les discours contenus par exemple le monsieur le barista qui est là, vous comprendrez que beaucoup d'anglophones sont en colère parce que, en réalité, ce qui s'est passé à la conférence de Foumban démontrait la volonté du Cameroun francophone de ne pas écouter ce que voulaient dire ceux de la partie anglophone. Et ils n'ont pas eu le temps de signer quoi que ce soit. Ils ont été embrigadés dans un système qui aujourd'hui ne leur plaise plus. Et c'est pour ça qu'ils veulent se départir. Donc, il est important qu'on apprenne l'histoire du Cameroun, parce que si on la connaît, on va voir nos frères anglophones différemment. So what I said is, it's really important to know where we are coming from, according to the French people, because if they know that, they will change. It will change the mind, the way to see Anglophone people, English speaker, the English part of Cameroon. Because right now we have media and journalists, they are always making propaganda and say that they are terrorists, they are not good, that is not the way to live. But if someone is humanist, he will know that according to the historical relationship between the English and the Francophone part, they were no way normal. They were like the colonialism from France was imposed in the English part of Cameroon, and that is the problem we have until today. So that is what I can say.
Senior Barrister, when we look at the composition of the delegation, we are told that the East Cameroon had a 12-man delegation, and then the delegation of British Southern Cameroon, 24-man delegation. They're more than this side, but the other side seemingly came more prepared. Do you think that if more time was given to these guys to understand actually better and negotiate and press harder, something better would have come out of the Foumban conference? Yeah,
Mr. Liu, there are some certain things that I want to put straight so that we can understand this thing.
Okay.
Mr. Gento here said Southern Cameroon was eager to have its independence when they were going to Foumban. I want to remind him that Resolution 1608, Article 2, recognized the independence of Southern Cameroon. 2B recognized the independence of Southern Cameroon by joining the Republic of Cameroon, and that independence was going to be effective 1st October. So they were not going to Foumban to obtain independence. They already had their independence. That was the first. Number 2, 1608 sub 5 prescribed the Union Treaty. They said the administering authority, Great Britain, the government of Southern Cameroon, and the Republic of Cameroon. Now, in Foumban, it was only Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon. It is legally not binding. It does not satisfy the provisions of 1608 that required the three. That is why he says tripartite. That is why Yaoundé came up.
Yeah, but and
I was telling you that Foumban was a preparatory conference. That is why Foumban prepared Yaoundé. In Yaoundé, Britain was present because that was what was prescribed. But as I was saying, you cannot say somebody has failed because he refused to accept what you are putting on the table. How do I fail because I refuse what you are putting on the table? I say, okay, I want you to say no this. Because you are bigger than me, what you say prevails, I have failed. The people rejected everything, that is why they didn't sign anything. So I don't see how our historians see that Southern Cameroonians failed at Foumban. They refused to accept the impositions on them and didn't sign anything.
And then what of 1st October 1961 independent on their own in reunification with the Republic of Cameroon?
1st October was decreed by the United Nations, sir.
Independent on their
own. It was decreed by the United Nations. That was the effectiveness of the independence that was recognized in April.
You are right, Senior.
Thank you. So we are saying that even if you gave 1 month It was a preparatory conference. We should all understand that things did not go wrong at Foumban. You see, I want that we should teach our children the good history. Things didn't go wrong at Foumban. Things went wrong after Foumban. They started going wrong at Foumban. And they went wrong, they completely derailed after Foumban, because while they were in Yaoundé in the hall, I keep saying it, if they have the means of proving me wrong, they were in the hall with the British. I usually carry his constitution, his draft, and send it to his own parliament, because he knew Southern Cameroon would never accept all those their proposals. He knew. He sent it to his own parliament where it was passed. And look, we have evidence that up to 1963, Foncha kept asking Ajo, when are we sending a union to tea? Because when 1st October came, I just said, okay, we are caught up with them. Let us just start living together. And he hid his that constitution, that 1st September constitution, he hid it. Foncha never knew about it till much later. But on the strength of that constitution, he made his appointment, he appointed Foncha.
But Senior Barrister, when you say of this independent 1st October 1961, independent business starting Cameroon or in reunification with the Republic of Cameroon, if you're independent with reunification with the Republic of Cameroon, based on which constitution?
Okay, let me answer you. Let me answer you, sir. You are the one who was supposed to tell us. Let me answer you, because you historians have failed to tell the story. Now, look, in 1960, the UN had two types of territories: self-governing territories and non-self-governing territories. Self-governing territories were not governed by any provision. Non-governing territories were governed by resolutions 1541. Good. So Southern Cameroon, being a self-governing territory, needed a special provision. That is why in 1608 they came out with that special provision that Britain, being the administrative authority, should oversee
but Britain, if the British, if they were there at the tripartite conference in Yaoundé,
yes,
yeah,
which produced nothing?
Why did they not see into it that what you are advocating?
Mr. Leo, yes. Understand me, eh?
Yes.
While Britain was in the conference room with the two delegations, Mr. Hijo took his draft and sent to his own parliament. The British had no means of knowing.
Yeah, it means they did not do their job.
How would the British know that Mr. Hijo is voting loss in his parliament? He carried his draft and sent it to his parliament that voted it as a constitutional amendment of their own constitution.
Yeah, but was there an outcome of the tripartite?
Nothing, sir. Okay. If okay now,
historians say there is a document.
Excuse me, sir.
That came out of
as I rightly said, both delegations were independent states, right? They both had parliaments. So whatever thing they would have signed in Foumban would have gone back to their parliaments, as Mr. Ndifor said. Did anything go to Boya?
Let me clarify on this resolution. Listen, let me clarify on this resolution.
That is what the thing is. I am trying to make this to understand that there was foul play after Foumban, because at Foumban the spirit of living together was born.
Yeah, but I'm not sure they're disputing what they are saying.
Let me clarify the resolutions.
I'm not sure they're disputing what you are saying.
Senior Barrister, let me clarify.
There was no failure, no success.
Let me clarify the resolutions. Senior Barrister, there were resolutions.
Those were proposals, not resolutions.
No, I want to talk. We have talked about resolutions.
1608.
Yeah,
1541.
Yes, there were two resolutions. 1514. 14 December 1960 and resolution 1541. 15 December 1960.
Yep.
Cameroon as a whole was a trust territory under the United Nations organization, a trust territory. It had first been a mandated territory under the League of Nations. When League of Nations collapsed now, and they created the UN in 1945, it became a trust territory under UN. Following the two resolution 1514, 14 December 1960, and resolution 1541, 15 December 1960 are two different resolutions. But instead of talking about resolution 1541, that one state, let me say I clarify it. There are two articles under resolution 1541, 15 December 1960. The first, it said that
two articles.
Let me round it up. Let me round up. I'm on microphone, Senior Barrister. The two under resolution 1541 of 15 December 1960. The first state that independence should be given to the trust territories. That's the first. Independent to the trust territories. Second state that some of the trust territories will give you independent either in integration or association, and British Southern Cameroon football, the second article, and that is why we are talking about independent in reunification. When you say UN did not give a complete independent, Senior Barrister, let me ask you something. That independent of 1st October 1961 was in reunification with the Republic of Cameroon.
Should I answer you? In 1960, Britain came up with the others in council, by which they recommended to the UN.
Yep. Ndifor. Well, you people are monopolizing this.
No, here's a question that requires clarification, because people want to know. He said, why was the independence option not on the table? It was not on the table because in 1960, Britain came up with an order in council that proposed to the UN that the unification should independence should be given upon joining the Republic of Cameroon or joining the Republic of Nigeria. It was a British proposal.
But that's what happened now, Senior Barrister.
Britain was the
we are talking about what happened. We are talking about what happened. So first October 1961, British signed Cameroon independent in the Republic of Cameroon, based on what we are discussing here, the constitution, whether it was a fake constitution. But that's what we are discussing here. And our element mentioned that history says that Cameroon from 1961 1972 was called the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Whether it was a fake constitution of the Cameroon.
That's what you don't see.
I'm not. We are just looking at that.
It's not supposed to be binding on Southern Cameroon. That's what I'm trying to tell you. As a historian, you tell your children. It's not supposed to be binding on somebody who signed nothing. When you talk about 1541, go to Article 7, which tells you
Ndifor Richard.
Leonard,
Yes, come in there.
I'm a really bit disappointed with the way the program is running today. In fact, Angel and Barrister Ashu have virtually dominated the discussion of today, depriving us from having the opportunity to make a point. Please, there is one thing that I would really want Barrister Ashu to understand, and I want all of us to take home as we are moving gradually to the end of the program. Now, there is no argument. It is a historical fact, undisputed, that a conference held in Foumban on the 17th of July through to the 21st of July, in which the delegate sat and discussed the constitution of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. That fact cannot be disputed. No matter how that is the fact. Now, whether Southern Cameroonians were allowed the freedom to express themselves, to speak out about their proposal, is a different ball game. Because what happened in Foumban is that while the Southern Cameroonians delegation came to Foumban with a proposal, a set of proposals, the delegate of La République du Cameroun came with a clearly well-drafted constitution. In fact, not a draft constitution, a constitution per se. And that is what was presented to them. And that is why you see, if you read Ndile's document, Ndile's book, you will realize that he clearly explained that they were surprised, they were shocked, that they came, that they were coming to see a draft proposal from La République du Cameroun, so that they come up with their own draft proposal, and a negotiation on both proposal is made, and then a constitution is adopted. But that what they found out in Foumban is that the delegate from La République du Cameroun came with an already written constitution. And like I said earlier, the Southern Cameroonians delegation were completely ignorant about this document. They saw this document for the first time. As to whether Foncha had this document or not, that is still a debatable topic among prominent historians. And I would like to disagree with Gentle when he said with a lot of certainty that Foncha already had this document with him. There is no certainty with that. As of now, the debate over whether Foncha had this document or not is still ongoing among prominent historians, and the arguments that they are putting for and against is still so strong, and the conclusion has not been established on whether Foncha indeed had this document prior to coming to Foumban. But now this is the point I'm raising. What I'm trying to raise is that if you look at the scenario, while the French Cameroon delegation were relaxed, calmly moving around, the Southern Cameroonians delegation were sweating over a huge, cumbersome document written all in French, shouting at each other, protesting over the document, and at some point, I read somewhere where a journalist even complained, if this is the kind of a scenario where a constitution of a future country will be written in such a rowdy and crowded manner, this guy, Joa himself argued, if the constitution of a nation can be written in 2 days, arguing against the time frame. But at the end of the day, what I keep asking myself is, did Southern Cameroonians oppose to the adoption of this document? Did they reject it and then walked out in protest and say, we need to come back to this negotiation, we need to come back to the table and talk about this? Did that happen? It did not happen. And that is where I have my problem with Senior Barrister Ashu. To tell Senior Barrister Ashu, like somebody rightly made a comment there who said, silence means consent. If you didn't say anything, you didn't protest. Yes, they protested. I am not saying that they didn't protest. They protested, they shouted at each other, they protested, they argued and all of that. But at the end of the day, the adoption, because after all, when you talk about negotiation and you talk about agreement, agreement comes only after shouting and protesting. An agreement comes at the end of it all. But now the agreement that came at the end of this in Foumban is that Southern Cameroonians in the delegation at that conference, they didn't do a complete protest. Like, okay, at this stage, we do not subscribe to this document and we are walking out of this in protest. And then they leave the conference prematurely, and then we know that there is this group of delegation who left. In that case, I can agree with Barrister Ashu that nothing was adopted. But that the fact that they stayed quiet, they stayed silent, they did not argue. And I make mention of the fact that Ndile himself, in his closing statement, made positive statement relating to the way the whole thing was run, which means he got his consent to the. He may have protested it in the beginning, he may have made some statement against it in the beginning, but at the end of the day, he made positive statement in regard to that, which means he accepted the final decision that was arrived at in Foumban. Now, what we are trying to explain is, these decisions that were arrived at in Foumban, were they in favor of Southern Cameroonians? Definitely not. If we are going back now to look at this, revisit the Foumban conference, revisit the negotiation, we should now come now to say, yes, errors were made here, our leaders made errors here, to say that no error was made, no problem was, no adoption was taken in Foumban, is to deny historical fact, which is what I want us to be clear about. We cannot deny the facts of things that happen.
Okay.
Those things happen.
Okay, Ndifor,
those things happen.
We're out of time. Daisy writing from Kumba says, good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. Thank you, Mr. Liu. I'm refreshing my memory and taking notes of what I had forgotten. How I wish Foncha was still here. He would have explained to me what he was doing with that lady who blindfolded his eyes not to see the future of Cameroon. Good evening to you, Daisy. Elvis Brown writing from Shell Nube says, haha, it's like the lady used Kayamata on him. That controls and confuse people. Okay. Please, Ndikum writing from Sweden says, Leo, please ask those history teachers and barrister this question. Where did Ahijo get the power from to appoint anyone prime minister, mindful of the fact that two parties came together as equal parties and the constitution was still in process? Okay. Hello, Mr. Liu. I'm watching the program and it's very interesting. I think Senior Barrister Ashu is right. The conference was a preparatory conference, and what Anglophone people have failed to understand is that our forefathers were manipulated. Thank you, Barrister Ashu. Peter is writing from Bamenda. Barrister, I'm glad to know that you can finally watch us. Please, my last question to Mr. Ndifor. Please, sir. There is a hill bearing Foncha's name in Chang. Can we know why? Okay. We are going to Mbafang. Okay. Let me ask this last question to you, Monsieur Jean-Pierre Samejou. Qu'est-ce que on apporte comme message? What do we get as take home from the conference, the Foumban conference 60 years after? Do you think we need to get our historians in Cameroon, our politicians, to leave aside their political leanings and actually look at all the key historical events that took place in Cameroon to see how they can fashion our future?
Yeah, the second one. Primarily, I want to say I have 2 points. The first one is, according to what happened in Foumban, we Cameroonians, we English speaker in Cameroon have to know something. Our destiny is in our hand. We are the one who are able to change our situation. According to what Barrister said, you all see that our ancestors was manipulated in Foumban. That is the fact, they was manipulated. But we have to know, because the most of people are at home, they are drinking coffee or juice or beer, I don't know, and waiting for something happen. We are the one, we have to stand up and change the thing with our hand. So that is the first point. The second point, and I said it because what Barrister said, there were nothing, I will say it again. There was something in Foumban. People meet together and they had discussion about some topics, and they maybe not sign nothing, but they were there and they did what they done. But according to us today, we have to manage our life. We have to come to keep it. It's not good to say I'm not a politician, because our food is political. Our drink is political. Everything we do is political. So we have to catch our destiny and to rule our destiny. So that is what I can say to the first point. The second one is according to teachers here, to Barrister, and to people who are saying us right now, we have to give the possibility to everyone to explain himself. We have to give the possibility to politicians, to teachers, to other people to explain themselves. So the last point is that is the reason why we in CRM are trying to discussing with people and to know really what is the problem, so that we will manage and we will give the possibility to everyone to be part on that and to change the Cameroon, because it's not the Cameroon for English speaker or French speaker, is for everyone, and we have to discussing to know really what is to do. So that is the point I will give.
Okay, Mr. Liu, tell your panelists that there were two preparatory meetings before the Foumban conference. There was Bamenda and Manfi, if my memory of Cameroon history is correct. After the plebiscite, former British Southern Cameroons voted to get their independence by reuniting with La République du Cameroon. Thus, the Foumban conference is the signing of marriage. Okay, Malange Roger is writing from Boya. Yesterday in Kumba, the Christopher Fomunyoe Foundation blessed the lives of some young persons and other persons out there in Kumba, the chief town of Meme Division. Let us find out how it went out there with our Kumba correspondent, Tamfu Sidwen.
The benevolent activities of the Fomunyo Foundation has continued with the donation of food items and other assorted goods of basic necessities to internally displaced persons living in Kumba, Meme Division of the Southwest region. This is due to the armed conflict in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. 100 families of internally displaced persons on Tuesday, July 20, 2021 received these items thanks to the initiative of philanthropist Dr. Christopher Fomunyo, who has always valued reaching out to the vulnerable population and promoting democracy and human rights.
The initiative of one person say he want to do something for 500 IDPs. There's nobody who will go back empty. If you go back empty, know that the second phase, you will be the one to be called. Hello? Yes.
Addressing the internally displaced persons, the director of the center in the Southwest region says the gesture is coming from a man who has dedicated his time and resources for the service of mankind and has been reaching out to many vulnerable persons across Cameroon.
Remember people them. For play day, each longy cry, ask and say, what can we do for this population? anytime when he make a call for Cameroon, now cry in the cry. What can we do?
The Foumban Foundation team also visited the Ifata Institute, a rehabilitation center taking care of the deaf and dumb. They also visited another home which hosts and caters for displaced persons. Here, they talked and handed over some food items. Receiving the items in Kumba this day, beneficiaries expressed happiness and pray the foundation extends its activities to other parts of the country.
I'm so grateful with the largesse that Dr. Foumban has given to us.
I'm glad for giving it to me. I think I'm today so Papa God. And the beg Papa God say make it put them for inside pocket more and more because it's time for pocket more but Papa God will put them in so that people continue to remember me again in Jesus' name.
But we are very grateful that you people you sat and think of us. We thank you so much. And since you have promised that you will still visit us.
The Foumban Foundation recently reached out to hundreds of Cameroonians seeking refuge in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Tamfo Sidwan, reporting in there from Kumba, chief town of Meme Division. We hope that many more Cameroonians are going to copy the example of Dr. Christopher Foumban to bless and touch the lives of Cameroonians, especially those that are affected by the ongoing crisis in the conflict-stricken southwest and northwest regions. We are going to be ending the program at this juncture. We want to say thank you to you, Ndifor, Richard, for participating.
Thank you so much, Leonard, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on this very important topic.
Okay, and also to you, Monsieur Jean-Pierre, thank you for participating this evening.
Thank you to your welcome. Thank you all. Thank you to the participation. So
okay.
I was really glad to be here.
Okay, and to you, Gentle, they call you Clovis Linwe. We're grateful you came all the way from Busie to be part of this program.
Thanks very much, Mr. Leonard, and thanks very much, my senior barrister. We discussed to learn. I think I've learned a lot from you. And history's whole it. We're talking about history that Cameroon from 1961 to 1972 was called the Federal Republic of Cameroon.
Okay, senior barrister, we are grateful that you came this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. I see children are listening. Foumban conference was organized subsequent to UN Resolution 1608, and that conference was preparatory, so it was governed by Resolution 1541, which stated in Article 7 that the territory concerned had to sign, participate, and be part of anything that concerned it.
Okay.
So silence, as Mr. Ndifor was saying, cannot amount in this type of case to consent. It cannot, because it is something international. It must be materialized by a treaty.
He was quoting Professor
That's
Tita.
what he said, sir.
He was quoting Professor Tita.
That's what he said. So
I know.
silence cannot amount to consent.
I'm corroborating what you're saying.
Thank you, sir.
Ndifor only added to what Professor Tita wrote from Yaoundé.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program, especially to the production team. Desmond, and to you, Eli, and Bertrand, Noel. All of you guys are working at the broadcasting, not forgetting you, Tabi, Tambe Bryant, who is supervising the work we do out here. I'm not also forgetting you, Kaiser, Michelle, and everybody working out here with us at My Media Prime. Thank you so much. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.